Greetings. Welcome to Speak Nerd and Enter.
So I said, Senator Gracchus is to be reinstated, and these are the wishes of Marcus Aurelius. And then I fell down, because I was really tired. And Robbie came running out to me in his best dress and told me to be safe, that, go to them. That was, that I had done what I was supposed to do. And so I was reunited with Mark, and since he had been burned to death with Rich back in Spain, and that's how we got together the second time. So.
And we will have our vengeance in this life or the end.
Right. No, wait. No, I had my vengeance. That was the whole point of the first part. Yeah, this was the love that Mark and I were to share for the rest of eternity, because what we do in life echoes in eternity.
Ah, I see.
Yeah,
it's really a love story.
It was. Yeah, the best part was, of course, Robbie running out there in his dress and telling me
dress.
And telling me that his son, the K-Man, was all right. Rich, you saw the Warhammer stuff?
I did, yes. Welcome to Speak Nerd and Enter. Yes, I did see the Warhammer stuff this morning at about, it started at 3 a.m. our time on the East Coast, and they finished up about 4:30. It was pretty interesting.
Why do they get up so early in England?
They're doing it. Yes, I know. Yeah, they're doing it on their screwed up schedule, which is daylight. So,
By the way, speaking of England, I saw this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I saw an interview with that Piers Morgan put out with a couple of guys about the monarchy or something over there, because he's apparently a big king and queen guy and all that. And there's a lot of younger kids nowadays who apparently don't care about the king or the queen. And so he had one on who was, of that camp, and had another one on who was of, I guess, the camp where they wanted a king or queen. And I tried listening to it, but found that I was I cared even less.
You just started hearing cannons and waving a flag in the background.
I went into the video thinking, oh, okay, well, let's see what their reasoning is, I guess, right? Mm-hmm. And then realized real quick that I didn't care even that much.
That's good-hearted American pride right there.
Yeah, well, since we're on that tangent, one of the news sites I kind of check every day, and is my daily hit list, is like Daily Mail, which is a UK-based news site, because it's interesting to get a different perspective on how people report certain things or whatever. And so I find it worth going there, but the same thing, they have a lot of what would be political news here in the US is royal news kind of over there, and I'm just I don't care what Princess so-and-so wore to this event. They do a lot of the celebrity stuff mixed in with the news or whatever, but there's just so much of oh, this princess was spotted out here, look, she looks so nice in her outfit, and I'm like, okay, but I guess that's not a whole lot different than, camping outside of Alec Baldwin's, house to get a picture of him walking the dog or something.
Yeah. I just watched to see how many children are coming out the windows on bed sheets this week.
I just thought it was funny. I went into it thinking, all right, well, let's see what they say, and then realized real quick, oh, I guess I don't care.
I don't care.
Yeah, not even a little bit.
You know what was funny is that there was a couple of Americans in the comments, because I looked at the comments before I dumped out. There was a couple of Americans in the comments who were asking, honest questions. It seemed like, well, what do the Royals do for you? Do they do anything? What do they, what exactly do they bring to the table or something?
Parade.
Man, the Brits, they got pissed, and one of them, you need to educate yourself and all, and I wasn't sure why.
I'm trying. That's what I'm asking you.
I thought that's what I was doing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I thought, I thought the point of asking the question, and secondly,
you need to educate
why
yourself,
he needs
not with me.
Right, and I thought, well, why does he need to put in more effort than that? Than asking, well, what do they do for you? But there was
That's
one
admitting
of them
that you're
came
too
back-
ignorant to answer his question.
or just too frustrated, right? And there was one person who said in there, well, they do the same thing for us that the Kardashians do for you, or something like that.
So nothing.
And
Yeah.
I was like,
Okay. Now it makes sense.
and I thought on so many levels, bringing the Kardashians into it was really dumb, because first of all, they don't do anything, and secondly, they don't mean anything to us. Nobody.
Well, they
for
do on
years.
South Park. Bruce Jenner on South Park is fantastic.
Well, yeah, but that's
Or
the thing,
Caitlyn
as
Jenner.
comedic fodder, right? But that's it. Yeah, it just, I shocked myself and kind of, and I don't know how that happened. I was just shocked at how quickly I realized I didn't. It was probably the quickest epiphany I've ever had in my life.
Did you have the sudden urge to start dumping tea into the nearest large body of water?
No, not even that much care.
That's
It'll
too
hit
much
you
effort.
eventually.
It's all the way over there.
Hey, God bless them. Do you, man? Knock yourself out with that. But it was just something that I just couldn't summon up any energy to think one way or the other about.
I thought I was interested in this, but I really just don't care.
Yeah, it was one of those things. How sometimes you're looking at a subject you just never had listened to or thought of before, and thought, oh, you know what? Let me take a little bit of a dive into that pool and see what it's like. And it was like I got right back out.
See, I remember where I was when I heard about Princess Diana, dying in the car accident.
Right.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, she's been in America forever, but she's, from England or whatever. But I just remember everybody around was very
Tore up,
sad, conciliatory toward
like
her. We didn't, we weren't making fun. Consolatory. We're gonna put you in this room by yourself. But you know what I mean? It was okay, if a president or a head of state dies or something, yeah, you're like, oh man, that really sucks. I'm gonna go over and do this now,
and
or whatever,
Yeah, I think the one I still feel worst about is probably Lincoln. That's it, I'm like, that was rough, but the other ones, I'm like, all right. I think
I'd just like to say that Roosevelt did a speech with a bullet in his chest.
Yeah, he did.
Well, there's that.
So
we don't get that kind of tenacity nowadays.
Yeah, and and apparently, what's his face? I can't remember his name. The host guy. He believes.
Piers Morgan?
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
He believes that we would be better off with a monarchist, or not even a monarchist, like a symbolic part of government or something.
Of course,
that,
we do. It's most of
like
government.
I found it. That was the only thing that I found interesting, is that I can appreciate someone else's desire to have the monarchist system or whatever they got going on, right? Knock yourself out.
Inflicted on you.
But it's weird to have someone, automatically diagnose Americans as needing to have something like that,
I
and
think I saw this
quickly
movie.
that would fail.
I think I saw this movie. It was called Braveheart, and I remember how it ended. Prima nocta. Freedom.
Well, it was followed up with another Mel Gibson movie about the Revolutionary War. Remember the Patriot?
Yes, an excellent film. Yeah, a better film, Patriot. Yes, excellent. Yeah.
We tried having a king here. It didn't work.
Yep.
So, yeah. Anyway, whatever. So anyway, back to the
40K.
The 40K ridiculous.
Yeah, we don't need no kings, but how about that emperor?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm ready. I want to be turned into corpse parts right away. Living in my 10x10 cubicle. Yeah. So the preview was this morning. It was only an hour. It was pretty quick, and they just went through the contents of the box and how it's going to be released. Tyranids versus, called Leviathan. Tyranids versus Space Marines. Looks pretty cool. It looks pretty expensive.
Did they
got a lot of
price?
models and a giant 300+ page rule book that's only in hardcover in this set. So it's going to be one of those limited sets. So hopefully they won't run into the same
So
production.
even more
problem.
expensive.
Yeah, but hopefully they won't run into the same production problems that they did where they sold out in the first 10 seconds to scalpers, and then no one could actually buy the box. I suspect what they'll do is what they did with the Horus Heresy, if I remember correctly, is they'll have the pre-sale for a number of weeks, so everyone who wants one will get one, and then they'll kind of build to order. But we'll see how they work it out. But it does look very good. New Tyranids, lots of new Tyranids, and more Space Marines. The Space Marines, they're what they are. Some cool new models in there though.
I've wondered why they do that special release that's coming out this day, and there's only this many to sell and all, because that's going to end up just being. It's all going to be snapped up, right? It's all going to be snapped up by guys who are just going to sell it on eBay 10 seconds later for $1,000 some odd dollars and all that. Yeah. And it would seem to me that it would just engender nothing but anger,
right? And it's gimmicky, right? Like I used to work at Games Workshop in production where we would make the stuff. Right? And it was back when it was all metal and spun cast, but my job was to be like, oh, we're out of Stern Guard veterans. Well, let me go put that in the production pile and have them make some and make sure we put some on the shelf. Like, they make their own stuff. So this artificial scarcity of, we're sold out. I'm like, make some more. Right? Yeah. There's still a need. These are your core. This is your core game. You're not going to run out of that. You might run out this, we made 100,000 or whatever number you make, and you sold out of those. It's not gone forever. It's not this truly limited special edition. We put out an anniversary thing and we only made 100 of them and go. This is your core box set for the new edition of 40K. I refuse to believe you're not going to make enough to satisfy demand, right?
I don't remember you working in production.
You don't? I did. No. It was before I worked in trade sales.
You did. But even with like the book where there's, the limited edition of that, right? Mm-hmm. All that stuff and signed by the so-and-so and all, or author and all that. I don't understand the point of that either. If you want to do it as a limited thing, because otherwise you're just selling it off to people who are gaming the system, essentially is what it is. Here's some you can game off to you guys who are gaming the system. You can take it and resell it to other people who are actually fans for thousands of dollars or whatever you're doing and all that. I don't understand how that benefits the company. If you're going to do a limited thing, do it for a limited time, right? And however many of you want to buy this special one for this much more, here you go. And all that. Because the signing thing, he's not sitting there signing 2,000 of them. It's an auto signature thing that they have that they're, that they're doing that with. And so the whole thing, like you said, Mark, it's very artificial and it just engenders a lot of anger from what I've seen.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is the case, but printed material at volume is pretty cheap, right? Yeah. So it might be a really nice hardback, and GW does some really nice ones. But their cost on that is pretty low, and their premium on that is pretty high. So they're making some money on those, on pretty much all their codexes and the books. And like, those are high margin items because they charge a premium for them and they have a shelf life. Like, I've got figures from 1989 that I could put on the table right now and play if I wanted to. But how often have the books churned and whatnot? So I think there's a fair amount of profit built into the printed material.
Well, there is, but I mean, if you create an artificially limited market, right? It's how you gin up that purchasing want from the masses, and somebody's going to buy it, somebody's going to resell it. I mean, it's what happens. So it's just a manipulation on the market from a business standpoint. We're going to we only have 5, and then everybody's like, oh my God, I need the 5. And that's why people are willing to fork out so much money. It's because you think, oh, it'll never happen again. I got to get it.
Right now, Mark's wife is like, oh, yes, thank you.
I suspect what the issue is.
I wanted someone to say thank you. Oh, my favorite.
The favorite. I suspect what the issue is, Mark. Honestly, though, it's not in the margins. To get those margins you're talking about, I bet you they do a lot of their printing in China. It's the shipping to get it distributed worldwide. And with the Corona Bologna that put a major hiccup in a lot of the shipping lanes around the world. But I think since it's all getting printed cheaply overseas, because originally all of it was printed in England, right, and then shipped out from there. But now margins are such that it's much cheaper to print it in a country where they have much lower cost of living. So I suspect the issue is with those books you're talking about. Ship more. It's all got to be on one container, right? So they, I can remember,
Very nuanced.
Yeah.
Well, this is
that.
because this is what we used to do, right? I mean,
No, you blanked out for like half of that, Rich.
I mean, this is well, great, awesome. Yeah, it's awesome. Again, let's see if this works this time.
Talk slower, see if that helps.
Okay. The thing is that
Too slow. Go a little faster.
The margins that you're talking about, they probably do a lot of shipping overseas.
Yeah.
Okay. So they print it overseas and ship it back. When those margins that they're obtaining are saddled by the shipping times and the stuff we've had to go through for the last couple of years, with shipping being interrupted, stuff sitting in ports for days and days and days and things like that, I think that they don't want to take a big risk on products like that. And you're right, it would be better for goodwill if they just printed to demand, but they don't. So they're willing to take the hit on the goodwill and figure, well, we'll get them on the next one, right? And they'll reap the profit from the margin saving that you're talking about. I think that's kind of where that strategy lies.
What if GW is not printing overseas and they just have some lackey sitting in a room with a printer, and every time an order comes in, they just run it off one page at a time?
Yeah, because it's, for 2,000 books, I mean, or whatever it's going to be, print on demand from someplace local. Everybody's paying their own shipping and everything, essentially, anyway. I don't see why you wouldn't just do it for like, hey, anybody who wants it, you got this amount of time to get it. There's your limited part. Yeah, and that way you're going to have happier people, because it doesn't do you any good.
Right, but I will say this: the quality on their books, like this is not just a print on demand, perfect bound paperback thing like the old Riffs, like role play. They were known for their paperback, perfect bound, cool
drive-through RPG style.
Yeah, like GW is not doing that. They want to create and I don't think they need to. Like, I think the rules for 40K are fit in a pamphlet. Like, it could be 10 pages, 20 pages of just booklet type thing.
You're going to be able to.
I know. I played the game before. They want to cram in like so much of their lore, their updated this, and give you all of that background, which I never really like. Okay, here's our $75 rule book versus here's a pamphlet full of rules. So, and I'm sorry, Rich, what were you saying? They're doing what now?
Can I just get the pamphlet? Is there a place I can order that?
Yes, you can.
Right,
but it's shipped from China.
Shipped from China, and the freight charge is astronomical.
No, apparently what they're going to do is the entire rule set's going to be available for free for anyone who wants them online.
It's not for free. It's free of charge.
Okay. Thank you for the correction. Yeah, it's going to be available at less than premium prices for anyone who wants them. And if you want the printed matter, I think they probably take a loss on printed matter overall almost all the time. But you're right about the quality of those deluxe edition books. They are really, really nicely done.
Does the pamphlet work with the old models?
Yes. It does.
Well, they are going to update the points cost for everything across the board on day one.
Yes, that's what as I understand it. Yeah, which they've never done before. They've never done that before.
Because otherwise, you're like, oh, that's cool. Let me wait 6 months for my new codex to come out, and I'll spend another $50 on that. And I will say this: I'm looking through the models right now, and unlike it's got some Terminators, which are cool. But rather than regular Space Marines with bolters, like the regular Space Marines all have like these new flamer guns, which I think is really kind of cool.
Yeah.
They call them Pyre Blasters, and they look like a mix between a bolt gun and a flamer, but I think they just shoot flames because they don't have like a magazine for bolt rounds. So they're like an updated like flamer rifle, which I'm kind of digging, which makes sense if you're going after hordes of Tyranids.
Yeah.
But the figures look good, and I think this is a nice departure from here's a box of regular Space Marines mixed in with the other stuff.
It's the Stardies version of the Dragon's Breath from John Wick.
Basically,
yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
It's supposed to be a horde killing unit because apparently.
They finally saw Soldier of Fortune magazine from back in the 80s.
Hey, those are cool. We should get those.
Well, apparently
shoot out little bolos and fleshes and all that.
The bolo shotgun rounds.
Apparently, this is
it'll trip them up.
That bolt. There's a new product for law enforcement called the Bolo Wrap, which actually does that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, pretty ridiculous. But apparently, this is the story of this box is the 4th Tyranid War, and one of the primary tactics is that horde style attack wave, and that's why they've kind of taken what the Black Templars really started with the Pyre Blasters, and now they've turned them into mainline units. They are very nice looking models, and they have the what are they, the combi weapon guys, guard. So those are some other guys that they're putting in there, and now they'll be available to everybody.
And I will say this Dreadnought is my favorite loadout. I love the twin link
the old
cannons
missile,
and the missile launcher. That was always my favorite loadout for Marines. I never understood. I have a tank. Let's get up close and use my claw on things. I was like, it's a walking tank. Why are you wading into it? So like, stand back and shoot that screamer killer in the face.
Mm-hmm.
See, Mark and I were different on that. I like the balance, is what I liked.
Well, now
I
they've got all three
who's
flavors.
able to defend themselves up close.
Mark liked to cheat.
But able to
Let's
do
just
it.
be honest, Sean. You're being nice. Mark liked to cheat.
I didn't cheat. Everything I did was rules as written. Rules as written.
It doesn't read that way, Mark.
Mark's Army, man. I've often thought, what would Mark's Army actually look like? What would they, what would their theme be?
They would look like winners, and their theme would be victory.
They just kill themselves. They'd fight amongst each other till everyone died, and the other army would just stand there.
I think
what?
The image on their
What's going
banner
on? Why are they fighting?
I think the image on their banner would have to be a dude kneeling over a body, popping the eye out, the bionic eye out with his
combat knife.
Right. Take that. Yeah, I got the what is it? This box set also comes with an apothecary, and I'm like, I can see my apothecary leaned over the defeated enemy. I will take this book.
Well, apparently that's what he does. It's a new type of apothecary who connects genetic samples from the enemies. So instead of just being a healer, he actually collects bits and pieces of the enemy to make better weapons, I guess.
All right, but anyway, and what Sean is referring to is the first Games Workshop retail store in the United States used to be in Laurel, Maryland. Mm-hmm. And as teenagers, we used to go up there all the time. And this is back during the Rogue Trader edition of the game. Mm. And we played in a tournament tournament league. It wasn't all on one day. Like it was over weeks.
It was their first tournament league they had done here in the U.S.
Yeah, so we had 1,000-point armies, and you'd go play. And the way they had the rule set up is if you won, you got to take a piece of equipment from the enemy, right? So if they had something cool, you could take it. And most people were like, "Oh, I'm going to take that las cannon. I'm going to take that shuriken catapult or something." And we were like, "Nope, we're taking the bionic eye because the bionic eye would let you see through smoke."
Yeah.
And most of the other people couldn't see through smoke, so you could set up smoke barriers. So we give the bionic eyes out to our heavy weapons, and then set up smoke barriers, and then we could shoot with impunity through the smoke, and they couldn't, and it turned into a bit of an imbalance in the game, which has since been rectified.
Very quickly, Mark became an unstoppable force in the very first league that they had over here, and I think it's funny that you can look back, Mark. You can look back now and know that in its fledgling days, GW trying to have the leagues and all that, you immediately changed the entire direction and tenor.
That's right. I was the original, master of the meta.
True. Yes, they only followed on with you at the grand tournaments later on. There was a group of guys that did that exact same thing. It's like, oh, how can we push this? Eventually, they started asking them how to make the game better.
Well, they changed the next year. They changed.
Yeah, they changed it
specifically for Mark. specifically because of him. And I remember Jeremy, you actually frustrating Jeremy so much that at the Fairfax store, he actually called you a rules lawyer and started.
I don't remember that at all.
I don't remember it that way.
I don't remember it that way.
I think it was a fine conversation.
That's right. I was a bit of a beardy get in my youth. I have outgrown it. I don't play that way anymore. I disavow it.
That part of you is there. You can tap
It is.
into it.
It is.
You can tap into
deep
it.
inside.
You can.
A little weed is deep
I can't.
inside growing.
The desire has been blunted, but that part of you is still there. I'll admit to you, there's a part of me that digs seeing that, come out, because I loved seeing the frustration on the other people's faces as Mark did it. The feeling of immediate defeat that I saw on the faces of so many men who were in that original league. As Mark would go up there, they saw who they were playing that week, and he would go up there and be, all right, here, you just have the eye, I know.
Got to deal with this guy.
Oh, Mark. Yeah.
Indeed. I was young. What are you going to do?
I know.
So
But
anyway,
you know what? I was also a winner.
For 1 year.
For 1 year. That was the highlight of my entire life.
You and Bob Hope, tell him I'm winning. So anyway, the Warhammer Fest, it's going on right now over in the UK. About this time, what is it? 10. It's about 3:00 in the afternoon over there. So they're getting towards the end. I think towards the end of their day, but they're.
Love the way his face is frozen with his eyes closed. That's great. But like I said, the models, as usual, look amazing. You know what I mean? Like I'm looking at this starter set, and I'm actually, everything is Terminators are cool. The Stern Guard veterans are cool. I really am liking that it doesn't have any regular Space Marines with a bolter in this opening set. Because I mean, there's so many of those out there. That's not really adding, I think, value. Like anybody who doesn't have Space Marines yet hasn't played 40K.
Yeah.
So to give the veteran players who we all have a pile of Marines, painted or not, something new,
the Gray Army.
This is well done. I'm really digging it.
I don't think I have any Space
Very
Marines.
nice. See, that's the thing I was going to ask you is, man, can you imagine anybody not having Space Marines who's playing the game now? I mean, wow.
There's a few out there. Orc players tend to be
right, but that's a choice, though. They're like, no, I don't want. I didn't want to buy I don't want Necrons. I don't want Space Marines. So maybe they didn't get the core set.
Yeah, but usually they got something.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But yeah.
Well.
Yeah. Anyway, Mark.
Yes.
Since we've talked about all that stuff, I wanted to ask you before we, run too long on this. You and Kelly, did you read any of the other stuff yet? Where are you in your journey now?
I'm not as far along as I want. I finished that other book. I slogged through that other non-40K book and finally finished that up, and that is done. That took me longer than I wanted because, remember, I told you every time I go into the 40K books, they're great, and then I'm listening to this other book and it's not great. Yeah. But I know the author. I've met him a couple times, and I kind of bought the book because he put it out, and I was like, oh, okay, so let me listen to this. And the narrator is so bad. It was just it took me a long time to get through it. So I finally finished with that one, and now I'm ready to jump into Saturday. So I have not made progress like I would want, and I was delayed. Inevitably, I was trapped in Isengard.
Okay.
I'm still somewhere in the beginning of Warhawk. I don't know where. I didn't get very far into it yet.
Okay.
That one takes off. You'll enjoy that one.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I did purchase all of them, though. So I have all the way up until, I guess number 2 hasn't come out yet, like the final one.
Saturnine you'll enjoy. I like Saturnine quite a bit.
And Rich, you haven't read Fury of Magnus, have you?
No, it took me a while. So I didn't just want to get it on audio. I wanted the physical copy, and I want to actually sit down and read it because it's not that long. So that's when I want to sit and. The longer ones, I tend to have a copy of the book on hand to reference back for something, say something confuses me and I want to read over it. But I'll tend to audiobook those. The Fury of Magnus, the short story books, I like to sit and actually read them. So it took me a long time to actually find the novellas from the Siege of Terra. People were holding on to them like they were gold. The Fury of Magnus cost me a few bucks over regular price. The other two I got for a good bargain, but Fury of Magnus, the dude did not want to give it up.
That's crazy, man. You need to do the audiobook for that stuff, man. I mean, I know you want to have the collection and everything. I get it.
I just like the physical media.
I know, weirdo. So
I like gold.
So do you like one question I wanted to ask you guys, since they're doing all the changes that have been going on and all, are you digging the new direction that they're taking it in now?
The lore,
40K,
40K universe.
Yeah, with the
Lion,
Marnius, I'm not Marnius Calgar, with Rabute coming back and the Lion and all that. Are you kind of digging that idea, or what?
Yeah, it seems like they're leading up to a big conclusion, kind of like what they did with the old world.
Yeah,
seems like they're pushing, but it's a multi-year, like very long burn story, which is good. I like that.
Yeah, it feels kind of like a Ragnarok-ish.
Very much
sort of thing that way.
Right,
okay.
and I'm gonna say yes, I'm loving it, because like you said, from Rogue Trader till about 3 years ago, it seems like it was static, and it was a nice sandbox to play in, but it was a very static sandbox. No matter what happened, the status of everything never really changed, and so with bringing
you could only have the story with the mystery of and alluding to, and oh my goodness, does that mean that kind of thing? But so long, and before it finally gets there's the
But now we've got Rabute returning, we've got the Great Rift, we've got the Lion showing back up, and it feels like and they even said in the little intro I was just reading, like, oh, here's our big ass rule book that brings you up to date on the current state of it moves the timeline forward, and so like I like all of this where we're going, because ultimately I think we're going to end up with the Emperor Reborn.
I wish they had that'd be cool. I'd love to see another model, and finally he could come in and tell Rich and Kelly just how wrong they are.
What are you talking about?
No, but he'll come back in. He'll make more remarks that then go.
Black Templar shirt. What are you talking about? What's the Church of the Emperor here?
No, he'll just come back and repeat himself. He'll just think if I just do it better, I'll save the universe. And then that will go.
You doubt the second coming?
Yes.
I very
Emperor.
Yeah.
I very much think that what you're alluding to, Sean, this the move from stagnation to actually getting the universe going again, that had to do a lot with the change in management at the top on down. It seems like that. Yeah, I think so too. The last three the last three editions of 40K, they've all been those story boxes. And that's where, starting with Plague Marines and Space Marines first, then what was the second one? What was the one after that, Mark? You remember? Necrons and Space Marines.
Necrons and Space Marines.
Yeah,
okay.
and now Tyranids and Space Marines. So
Didn't
they're kind of going
through Tyranids one before. I thought they had
maybe like a long time ago.
Long time ago.
Yeah. This one has no Gene Stealers either. Like I'm looking through it, like there's no straight up Gene Stealers in this.
They're going to be a kill team.
Well, what I'm wondering is, because there is, I guess you guys know, I think Rich knows, it's not really a spoiler of any kind, there are Gene Stealers on Earth.
There's a cult.
So,
wait, what?
So what
if the Emperor's one?
Yeah, well that would
the many-armed god.
If you could get the Emperor as a Gene Stealer Necron, then you would have my favorite, you would have all my favorite factions rolled up into one thing.
Yeah, he rolls up like that thing at the end of the thing. All different factions like sticking out of him.
Got a head coming out of his neck.
Yeah, this is not the second coming I envisioned, but okay.
That's what I should do. I
thought you'd look a little more golden.
An Emperor Tyranid model. I should do that. Yeah. But I wonder if they're leading up to a a phase of where there's this Tyranid attack that happens on Earth, where the Tyranids show up to the Sol system.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be either one of the diversions, I suppose, or something like. So I was wondering about the Emperor coming back and the Primarchs and all that stuff, and where that might be in the timeline and all that.
Well, Fulgrim's coming next. Like Fulgrim.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like in the lore, have we ever stopped a Tyranid fleet entirely? Because it's always been like some tendril came over.
They kind of go away.
I know that we're like bonking on the nose and it goes away like a shark or something.
Well, one of the things I like about that is that they've added into the lore, they're postulating now that the tendrils aren't actually the crux of the Tyranid forces.
Yeah.
That the Tyranid forces being intergalactic are just massive.
Yeah.
And so they haven't even seen the actual Tyranid forces show up. This is all just preliminary,
edges of it.
Right.
Oh my God. And then we team up with the Necrons and the Orcs and the Eldar to face our common enemy.
Well, I think
the Jakara.
What I think is going to happen.
Who are riding the Necrons through, or the Tyranids through space.
On the Leagues of Votan void ships, they're coming through with the transparent walls. But I think what's going to happen. I think you're right, Sean. I think it's going to kind of culminate. All four demon Primarchs are going to be back. And it's going to be yet another, not Horus Heresy, but another like mass attack on Terra, trying to snuff out the Emperor for whatever reason. It's interesting.
Thank God.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, with the return of Lionel Johnson. It's interesting. Hold it up, yes. Purge. But with the return of Lionel Johnson, they've talked a bit about the fact that, what's his name? Not Luther. The guy that comes and goes. The
Luther
Cypher. Yes, thank you, Cypher.
Yeah.
Cypher wants to assassinate the Emperor, and basically, he gets told not yet. So you're wondering, well, does he want to die? Because he's, we all know he's a perpetual. What's going to happen? There's thought that the Chaos Gods are trying to keep him interned, as opposed to get him off the throne, because he's going to become the quote unquote fifth Chaos God or whatever, or
the Dark
something.
King and all.
Yeah, the Dark King. Yes, all that stuff. So
I think if we strike him down, he will become more powerful than we can possibly imagine.
I think if you strike him down, he'll say, "Ow."
That really hurt.
The idea, the thought that he's playing a 10,000 year, long game of waiting him out, is pretty interesting. And but it then goes to speak to, well, how's he treating the rest of the galaxy? But you got to think on it on his level. Like we've said over and over, most people don't consider his viewpoint. Yeah. His viewpoint is so far beyond anyone who just lives for 100, 200, or even 1,000 years.
Whose viewpoint are we talking about? I lost track.
The Emperor's. Oh. The Emperor's viewpoint. Yeah.
The only one that matters.
Yeah.
That's right. Thank you. The correct
His perspective is so alien to everyone because no one else can share it. It's just impossible.
Well, because he never tells anybody. For God's sakes, he talks in parables all the time.
Kelly, you make a good point.
How many times,
and wise people never speak in parables.
I'm going to speak for the Emperor on this. How many people do I have to explain this to? I got to sit here and explain it to all.
How many times?
I've already shown you all the stuff I can do and see. I got to talk to each one of you fools and tell you.
Yeah, I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
I've told you before. I just see him like Dr. Manhattan and just getting I'm surprised he hadn't taken off to live on. Well, Mars is already occupied, but some other planet.
Rabute's trying to show him to shack up with an Eldar hussy. So
Yeah. By the way, I'm reading that the Lion Son of the Force book. I'm reading that now. You haven't read that yet, have you, Rich?
Mm-mm. I'm getting it today. I've been avoiding all the spoilers because I actually want to absorb that one without knowing anything in advance. It looks really good.
All right, I won't say anything then. All right.
No, you can talk about it. It's fine.
Nah. I don't want to prejudice you one way or the other on it.
I'm getting it today, but it looks good.
Yeah. just wait and see what you think of it, and then we'll talk about it then. So,
Okay.
Yeah, because I have a few thoughts on it, and some of them are confusing to me. So,
Yeah. Okay.
confusing and strange, like awakening, exploring, exquisite feelings. I just
Feeling some curiosity.
no. Yeah.
Vaguely
So,
curious.
anyway, yeah, mercurial. Yeah.
Mercurial. Yes.
All right. Well, yeah, I guess that was pretty. What else? There was something else I wanted to. So, oh yeah, the Mandalorian sucked.
Yes.
What?
Yes,
It did. It did. Yes.
That was
it
awful.
totally
I had
did.
to put that. I'm sorry. I had to put that out there. Ever since they had the ending where they had little baby Yoda sitting there on the rock with the frog, and then
playing with the
they do the
frogs.
little zoom in thing on him like that, and I'm like, what the hell was that?
I am trying to figure out how they crashed a multi-thousand-meter starship into a base, and the platform they were on didn't suffer any damage.
Because
even though they had the force bubble around him.
Because he learned the lessons of Groot. When I saw that, that's exactly what I thought of. Like,
it's just crashing down through the ceiling, and I'm like, it's going to vaporize the entire area. It's like there's matter.
Yeah, they're going to have Ronin show up, and then
no, you can solve all of your problems with space magic.
Yeah. Yeah, that sucked. I hate, man, that bummed me out. Oh, that bummed me out.
I think Jon Favreau, when his character got killed at the end of the previous episode, that was him saying, "Yeah, I'm done. I've written this off. They can do what they want. I'm killing myself in my own show."
Yeah.
That's the theory, is that was kind of a signal to the real fans, like, don't expect a lot because I'm taking myself out of this.
And the next, I guess the one that comes out this week or something is Young Jedi Adventures or something like that. Which is kind of like, that's kind of like
animated.
Yeah, it's like a Muppet Babies kind of thing.
Woke Jedi wokeness.
It'll probably be the best thing since Andor. You know what I mean? The one that sounds like it's going to be awful is probably going to have sophisticated storytelling, deep characterization, plots that make sense.
I
feel like
all the stuff the other ones don't have.
It's a Star Wars take that was influenced and informed by a mixture of Boondock Saints and Inglourious Bastards.
Right? Yeah.
What? All right.
That season, I don't know. The Mandalorian just fell off such a cliff from its, Lone Wolf and Cub and Man with No Name origins that made it so entertaining in the beginning. Had they just stuck with that, they would have left Grogu with Luke, he could have gone off and continued being the bounty hunter with no name. It would have been fine, but they just couldn't resist it.
Even
they just
Bo-Katan's whole arc.
Oh, she's the
it
girl
was
with
not
everything.
Organic. It didn't feel weird. Like when he shows back up, she's literally sitting in this massive castle.
Yeah.
On a chair with her leg up, sitting here bored. Who just hangs out on their freaking throne all day being bored?
I swear that there was a
soul in the whole
place.
There's like one robot. I look around my house. I'm like, oh my god, we gotta go mow the grass. We gotta go do this. I'm like, what's involved in the upkeep of this massive castle?
Droids,
sitting around doing nothing?
Slaves.
And then just so they could blow it up 20 minutes later, And I'm like, I felt no vested interest in her home getting blown up. She didn't seem to care. She's just like, oh man, they blew my house up. Oh well, I guess I'll live on this cool ass spaceship.
There's no one there but a bunch of droids.
Right.
The Mandalorians.
And then they brought back IG-11 at the end and totally negated his whole sacrifice. The whole point of him sacrificing himself was supposed to be emotional and the loss of a great character, and it was supposed to be interesting. His entire arc was just tossed on the river, and they still had stupid ass Baby Yoda running around.
No, I want to see the show about Marshall 88 or 11 or whatever, like Marshall 11. Like that'd be so cool.
Marshall 11. Yeah.
Marshall 11. He'd be like, dead or alive, you're coming with me. No, wait, that's a different
citizens.
Now, see, that one's going to take you by surprise because that was informed by Apocalypse Now and Serpico.
Yeah, it was
Set-
very
set
like
in the Star Wars universe.
the ending of that show seemed to be.
IG-11's got his head through the door of that drug dealer, that spice dealer on whatever planet they're on, that knockoff of whatever. Just oh my god! Have you seen Serpico? You guys have seen that, right?
I've seen it,
yeah.
You know the scene I'm talking.
Yeah, I do.
About. Yeah.
Become citizens. I'm here to help.
That would be great.
Sticking his head through the door. Well, you know, the thing about that show, the way it ended, the way they tied up all the plot points, it was just people that just didn't understand anything about the show at all. You could tell. Write this. We don't know how to write for people and make them interesting. So we're just gonna do something that seems like we've saw in 15 different storybooks, and we're just gonna put the most childish ending we can at the end, where he's floating a frog and the other dude's got his feet up on the porch, and he could take his helmet off around his family, but he keeps it on in front of his son because now
do
he's adopted, right?
Do you guys see why I was never impressed with Boba Fett or the Mandalorians at all?
Yeah.
Is because of this kind of crap. They talk about how how tough they are, how bad they are, and all this.
They got
stuff.
their asses kicked constantly.
They get beat up constantly. Everyone beats them up. They're the first people you go to beat up. Yeah. They're the war of the Star Wars universe.
I think the Gungans put up a better fight, actually.
Yeah,
they did.
Whenever you want to show how serious a threat you are, you show up and beat up Mandalorians first.
It's true.
I'm going to make my lair in your house.
And the fact that the way they lost the war is that she surrendered because she was too stupid to know that dude was lying to her. I'm like, what are you kidding? He's been attacking you for years, and you're going to surrender to him, and he's going to be fair with you? What's wrong with you?
Why would I be afraid of Mandalorians? They're so dumb, so predictable.
I don't know.
So,
I don't know. Based on those stormtroopers, they're not really much to do with them, you know?
No. I feel bad. I feel worse for Mark because I've seen Mark as I've grown through the years. I've seen Mark grow and his love of Boba Fett and how cool he was and all of that. And it's
he was cool as a mystery character. That's what he was cool as. He was cool as a mystery character that just came and went and showed up once in a while. It was cool, you know.
He wasn't cool because he didn't do anything. He did nothing.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
He was so cool he didn't have to. He could just stand there behind Vader and talk back to him.
That's right.
He was one of the 6 bounty hunters that were up there on the platform.
He was the worst bounty hunter ever.
He was the best. He was the only one.
He kept losing Han Solo.
I wanted to yell at Vader. What the hell are you paying this guy for? He didn't do anything. He told you, he's going to Bespin. You showed up to Bespin. You caught him. You put him in carbonite, and then told Boba Fett, if something happens, we'll pay you for it. Why? What the hell did he do?
Yeah, don't you have an empire? That you get like unlimited amounts of resources.
Matter of fact, as soon as they brought him out of the freezing chamber and they got him laying on the floor, and said, "No, he's alive. He's in perfect."
You should have forced crushed Boba Fett.
He should have gone up there. Nope. Vader should have gone up there and shot his ass in the head right then, and then told Boba Fett, "There, now take."
He's no good to me dead. Well, too bad.
Yet. Then he goes all Kylo Ren and does the whole thing on, the frozen Han that, Kylo did to the computer console. Then gives it to him. Then that's what he should have done. He's no good to me if he's dead. Well, you know what? Screw you. All right. What you going to do? Stupid.
This is a kid's movie, Sean. Ease down. Ease down.
No.
He's horrified 13-year-olds. Oh my God, Han Solo!
That made me angry because I was 13 at the time that stuff came out. I have every right to be that way. And they abused my friend. They abused you, Mark. They never gave you what you needed so that now you have to sit here and listen to all of this as I make fun of Boba Fett and eviscerate him as any sort of serious character or threat. And there's nothing that you can say to it in all truthfulness.
Look how we went out
fun.
To the Jedi.
I think we just went from podcast to therapy.
But I mean, look how he went out and Return of the Jedi. Han Solo was blind and accidentally hit his back.
Welcome to therapy and enter.
Yeah.
And what kind of bounty hunter system? You see a dude with a lightsaber and you wrap him up
Yeah.
in a little rope right around the arms.
Damn it.
I didn't see that coming.
Oh, man.
I never saw that coming.
Good. No wonder
And
we
look,
lost to the Jedi.
No, he's sitting there. He goes into slow-mo. He's like, wrap up wire, flamethrower. Let's go with the wrap up wire.
The bowler wrap. Again, we're back to the bowler wrap. But yeah, a blind guy with a gaffy stick manages to take your super technical, worst in the best in the galaxy armor, misfire your rocket pack, and knock you into a thing that digests you for 1,000 years in the sand, and you can't even crawl your ass out. Terrible
design
No, he
flaw.
did crawl himself out. I don't know if you
Yeah,
saw the
100
follow-on
years.
show.
Yeah,
He
all
totally,
beat up and had to sit in a
got it.
back of
I
tank
know.
for a year.
yeah.
Look,
But he did get
Well,
out.
where's for the
Sean, to
jetpack,
your point-
where's the on button? Oh, that's on the back. That's right
Go-
there on the outside.
Sean,
right there
look.
on
Go
the
ahead,
back.
Kelly. Go ahead.
you've already outlined that Boba Fett was not a very good bounty hunter, so he didn't have a lot of budget to work with to buy a backpack. So he got what he could afford.
Yeah, he bought the Alibaba version.
Can you imagine what they would do if the Space Marine jump packs functioned the same way as that jetpack? Can you imagine what they would do? It's like, oh, well, someone poked me in the back, like some Imperial cultist pokes me in the back and I go flying off into the atmosphere. It's worse than Orc Tech.
I wondered why no one else in the Star Wars universe had, jetpacks. If
Now you know.
Mandalorians have them.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense now, doesn't it?
Because they're all
As to why.
junk.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, they run out of
Death
gas
Star-
too.
Death Star is useless. It's just they're horrible. They should have been burned. Did you notice how they took care of the Ark, by the way, with Bo-Katan and the Mandalorian and the Darksaber?
Yeah, they broke it.
They broke it. Yeah, they had Gideon come up and just break it. You're wondering, okay, well, are they going to have them fight? Maybe. I mean, it's just they're
Awful.
kicking this story around with no resolution, and it seems like I didn't really care for this entire storyline, but there needs to be some sort of resolution to it. Oh, I see. You just have Gideon pick up the Darksaber and break it. Now they don't have to worry about it.
With his non-Darth Vader armor, I've now got cyber strength, and I'm going to crush this artifact that survived for what, 10, 15,000 years?
No, that could happen. So to bring this around to our England discussion, if I was to destroy the crown jewels, does that mean there'd be no king over in England anymore? Like, how's that work for Mandalore now that the Darksaber is destroyed?
If you destroy the crown jewels, that just means I'm not having any more kids.
I did actually. I've destroyed them myself. But I did think about that. It's now that conflict is resolved in the worst way possible. It now, I think that was their idea of how they were going to bring everyone together, because there's now nothing to fight over. So now they're all just one big happy family. Yeah, that's going to work exactly that
We're
way.
going to have a council.
Yeah, we're going to form a democratically elected council. That's what it's going to be. The democratic monarchy.
Bo-Katan can preside over the various clans.
It's just going to be
clan
like
will send two of their representatives to the one form of government, but then based on population, the clans will send a number of them to the other, and then we'll set up a judiciary branch of like the blacksmith lady. She'll run that, and it'll just be the galactic version of our elective representative republic.
Or they could just listen to Piers Morgan.
To Lizzo and Jack Black.
Have a queen.
They're going to go back to Lizzo and Jack Black.
A 14-year-old queen, because we want someone who's more mature.
An elected 14-year-old.
No, they're going to have a democratic
with a 3-year term.
I was like, what the hell?
That ties it all together. They're going to go back to Lizzo and Jack Black, and they're going to base their entire system of government on their planet. It's going to be a democratically elected monarchy, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. So, they're gonna go through. They're gonna base it all off of that, and then everyone's gonna get along.
That's another thing that I would like to point out. Like, in the world building of this series, Jack Black went from whatever he was in the Empire to head of this planet, right?
Fat to fatter.
Carl Weathers went from not smuggler, underworldy kind
Bounty
of
hunter, yeah.
like bounty hunter broker to now I run this whole planet, and like, why do people all of a sudden decide to follow these people? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, how, like I could go from nobody to running this whole planet in 6 episodes.
Because you only have so much time to turn the script in, Mark. So
Okay, we need someone in a position of power. I know, we'll just use this guy from episode 1. It'll be perfect.
See, you doubt the Emperor, Kelly. Who you should be doubting is the Force. The Force apparently has no idea what it's doing.
Your midichlorians are low midichlorians.
But you know, this is a universe where you have an 18-year-old queen, elected queen representative for some reason, and in the same universe you have how old was Ahsoka when she was made a commander?
She was young. She was
Luke,
13, 14,
Yeah.
something like
Luke
that.
was, and you could say it was a fluke, but Luke was made a commander. Han was made a captain.
They're all generals. Yeah, they were all generals.
They all became generals, right? Everybody gets to be a general, including Jar Jar, right?
Yeah.
So I don't.
Yep.
I'm surprised this entire universe, to be honest, from a military and political standpoint, hasn't just imploded.
General
This
Binks.
whole thing, yeah. This.
Well, there's only 2 ranks. There's soldier and general.
Yes. There's no lieutenant. There's no. Well, no, unless you watch the Solo movie where they actually talk about like the actual structure of the Imperial Army, but nobody likes that movie except for me. So.
Well, no, they were trying to be anti-imperial, so the Imperial has all those ranks, but you know,
That's true. Yes. Yeah. It's either grunt or general.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and then you get a medal.
Well, only if you're human.
No,
Yes,
you don't get medals.
unless you're Chewbacca, in which you don't get anything.
You don't get medals. You get those little plastic things that you can put
Flare
on your shirt, or the pens.
Rebel flare.
Rebel flare.
Yeah. Or the pens that I don't know what they mean.
Right. The little pens.
I've got 15 pieces of flare. I noticed you don't have 16.
So, all right. Well, anyway, thank you, gentlemen.
Yes,
so
sir.
once again, to summarize, 40K, interesting. Star Wars, no. Star Wars
Yes.
is no longer interesting.
Yes,
Star Wars,
correct.
Unless it's Andor.
Watch. We're going to be pleasantly surprised by this new Star Wars babies. It's going to be written and directed by Quentin Tarantino.
I hope they have a lot of singing and dancing.
Jedi babies
clapping.
Jedi babies DuckTales is what.
Maybe they'll teach us how to finally count.
So, all right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Anything else you wanted to cover real quick, or no?
No.
I think we've covered everything. We've solved every problem that there is. Once again, we're in consensus. The Emperor was right. And I can't think of any better note to end on. You know?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next time. The Emperor
All right.
rules.
The Emperor protects.
This concludes our Speak Nerd and Enter broadcast.